And welcome, folks, to another edition of Steady Droppin Dimes. We are back. It is the new year. The crew is here, and I'm glad to see my brothers who did their thing in the maize and blue. You know, anytime there are major happenings with the University of Michigan, I think about these fellas first, the guys who wore the uniform and how it must be hitting them, how it must be making them feel as change is afoot, what they think of those changes. A lot of those questions going to be touched upon today, as we also a little bit later on in the show going to have Bryce Underwood's quarterback coach Donovan Dooley on, who I know Wheat knows pretty well too. So we'll get him on a little bit later. But right now, we're going to start off talking a little basketball. And with that, let's do the intro to my man, McDonald's All-American, because not that many of those.
Not that many.
Not that many have worn the Michigan uniform. So somebody said, "Hey man, was Daniel a McDonald's All-American?" I said, "Oh hell." That is the intro. So McDonald's All-American, Daniel Horton in the building. Freshman All-American Daniel Horton in the building. One of the all-time great players in the maize and blue. Daniel, how you doing?
Doing good. Good to be here, man. Been a little break, but it's good to be back.
Yeah, I got to give you your flowers, man. I don't give you your flowers enough. Somebody said this McDonald's All-American. I said, "Oh, these kids don't know the history, Daniel. They don't know the history, man."
Hey, getting old, Sam. So that's what it's like getting old, man. My son, all his friends, they want to know, were you a McDonald's All-American? So I have to explain it probably once a week down here. So I'm used to
it. hey, what they say now? Google me.
Yeah.
Hey, Google me. The kids Google this one. Google Tecmo Bowl. Because back in the old days,
oh Lord,
when I was a little kid, I played Tecmo Bowl, and Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl couldn't be stopped.
No.
That was Tyrone Wheatley back in the day. That was T-Wheat back in the day. I'm telling you, T-Wheat was a video game. Y'all don't believe me? Go check the tape. One of the all-time great players in Michigan history, a first-round draft pick. When you talk about physical characteristics, dude was sprint champ, high jump champ, long jump champ. You want him to dunk a basketball, he'll do that on your head too. That's Tyrone Wheatley. Wheat, how you doing?
Good, man. Good. Happy 2026 to everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So as we get into it, I want to thank our great sponsor, Golden Limo. When you need to get to your destination on time, every time, Golden Limousine will get you there. Whatever level of transport you need, whether it's ground transportation with one of those mid-size SUVs, those aviators. Maybe you need a larger SUV to get your whole family there with a lot of luggage, so they'll get you there in a Navigator. Or maybe you need a large group transport. They got the Sprinters. They have the party buses. Or maybe you need to travel like team size, office size, like Michigan football or Michigan basketball when they take the Golden Limo luxury motor coaches. And the great thing about it is you can use that ground transportation service anywhere in the country. You think it's just Southeast Michigan. It's not. Just by going to goldenlimo.com and getting that ground transport set up, it is second to none. You don't touch a bag. 15 minutes early is on time for them every time. That is the excellent standard that has been set by Sean Duvall at Golden Limo, and a proud supporter of Michigan athletics too, as he has had ambassadors like Will Johnson, right now Zeke Berry, and now transitioning over to the basketball side of things, his first basketball NIL ambassador, Trey McKinney from the city of Flint. So supporting Michigan athletics as well. When you ride on Golden, you are taking care of yourself, but you're supporting Michigan as well. So always ride on Golden. Go to goldenlimo.com. So, Daniel, I asked you after a couple games, was this the best team in the country? You said, Sam, I got to see some proof. I got to see it over a period of time. I got to see how they deal with adversity. See if some of these things the guys are doing on the court, if it stands the test of time. Well, here we are, early January, and now in the Big Ten play, and no one has found a way to knock them off just yet. So I'll ask you again, Daniel Horton, is this the best team in the country?
So you only remember the bad stuff. You only remember the negative or what could be, because we've had this conversation since, and I told you they were the best team in the country, right? Do you remember that, Coach Wheatley? Didn't I say that?
I do remember you said yes, but you said you need to see.
Yeah, I need to see more, right? And so I still think they're the best team in the country, to answer your question overall. I think they're the best team in the country. The body of work they put together is unmatched, right? Not just right now this year, but in the history of college basketball or the history of the Big Ten for sure, we haven't seen this many 30 and 40 point and 25-point blowouts. So I think with their resume up today, they've earned the right to be the number one team in the country. I've watched Arizona play a few times, and they're pretty good as well. But I think this Michigan team is better. And I think when they defend, I think they're almost unbeatable, right? When they defend at the level that they've been defending at over the last couple of weeks. And I think that's what slipped against Penn State a little bit, right? Even though they only gave up 72 points, I think some of the areas where teams are going to try to attack them moving forward, they're going to have to improve in order to continue their momentum. And I think they will. Dusty does a great job of making adjustments, and they do it. It seems like they do a great job of self-scouting, right?
Mhm.
I think there's a couple of areas where, teams have been successful over the last couple weeks, right? That needs to be addressed in order to keep the momentum going.
So Daniel, we can talk about how talented they are offensively. They got a lot of different guys who can hit you in a lot of different ways. But what makes them elite, like when I say elite, I'm talking about like questioning where this ranks in Michigan lore and Michigan history. Now you got to get some hardware to really have the true comparison. So
Right.
I'm not making any grand prognostications right now, but at least to this point in the season,
Mhm.
I can't remember talking about a Michigan team to this level defensively. Again, I'm not saying that they're the best Michigan team I've ever seen yet, but defensively, they choking teams out, and they're choking
Yep.
them out in the first half
Yep.
in a lot of these games. And I'm curious, what are the characteristics that you see that allow them to do that?
So this year compared to last year, they've been much better guarding the ball on the perimeter, right? And I think that's where it all starts. It starts with your point guard being able to defend. I know we talked before the season about Elliott being able to stay out of foul trouble and being able to guard his position much better than he did last year at North Carolina. And honestly, he's done that. He's been a pest on the ball. And that starts your point guard is your first line of defense, right? When you're guarding other teams' offense, when they're pushing the ball at you, your point guard has to guard their point guard. So he's done a great job as the lead person in our defense. But on the back end, when you have Morez Johnson and Big Adi Mara and Yaxel Lim, that is a lot of size in college basketball. So we've also done a great job of defending the paint as well. So I think those are two areas up front as far as the initial attack, slowing down other teams' initial attack, and protecting the paint. We've done a great job. Now, I've seen some things over the last couple of weeks as far as us guarding ball screens and guarding certain actions that teams are going to put us in to make Adi Mara guard pick and roll situations or dribble handoff situations, right?
Yeah.
Teams are going to be more creative to try to put him in those situations. So Penn State and Maryland were able to have some success with that. But also those guards are making tough shots. So I think for me, if this was yesteryear, playing against guys like myself or Darren Williams or the guards that came through the Big Ten back then, you probably wouldn't play them like that. But I haven't really seen anybody in the Big Ten other than Braden Smith that makes me worry about continuing to play those coverages, right? We just have to make sure we continue to be solid, continue to know the scouting report, know where the shooters are, and those big guys are going to continue to do their job. So
Yeah, very adept. I expect nothing less from you, the basketball encyclopedia that you are. That that drop coverage, they can get away with it against most teams. Braden Smith feels like he'll make them pay.
yeah,
He'll cut them up. You're gonna have to let a die kind of see if he can hedge and recover a little bit because it hasn't really been tested. Or you might just have to change it. That might be one of those games.
change your lineup. Yep. Every game isn't for everybody, and that's one thing I've learned as a coach, right? As a player, you think, like, man, I'm especially when you're at the higher level, man, I want to play. But as you get into college and the pro level, every game isn't for especially when you have physical limitations or limitations to your game, right? I think with him being as big as he is, it has its advantages, but also has its disadvantages when you're guarding other. And he's done a great job of minimizing that, to be honest. But I think as the competition gets stiffer, teams are going to attack that.
Yeah, but I think this is a real key because Michigan is an unbelievable defensive team statistically when Adai Mara is on the floor. I mean, the metrics are insane, right? So teams have been able to get him like you. Penn State was able to get him off the floor,
Mhm.
right? So they had a 5-man. Now you got to get out and guard him.
Yes.
He can shoot it. But if you get out and guard him, now he can put it on the floor a little bit, right?
Mhm.
So if you have a 5-man that can challenge him in that way, that's another way that you can try to get him off the floor. And it was almost worked for Penn State. I also think Michigan was a little lull. I think there was
For sure.
hard to be up in every single game, so I don't want to give Penn State too much credit. But it makes me leery of is a team like Illinois,
Yes.
who has 5 men that can threaten you in that way.
Right. And they're 7'3", 7'2", 7'8". They have great size too.
Yeah, but great size that can shoot, great size that can test you. Because USC tried to throw a big. They had a 7'5" dude out there, right? They tried to throw some bigs, tried to match size for size. You can't. Michigan is big and skilled, and if you're gonna try to thwart them, you better match them in that way. And if you're gonna try to do it with that kind of size, it better be skilled size. It better be guys that can shoot it, challenge you, put it on the floor a little bit. Because if not, man, they are too. He's like a quarterback, man. This dude, his passing ability, whether it's in the half court and he's set up with his back to the basket or he's in the high post, but where it really sticks out to me is when he rebounds and throws an outlet pass. Daniel, I mean, he is like literally like a quarterback when you watch him doing that, because Michigan's transition game is outstanding too, and it's because their passing is so great, and it starts with their outlet pass.
Yeah, no, I come from the era where that pass was, it's called a baseball pass. We want to attribute it to quarterbacks, though, how we were taught it from. That's actually a baseball pass, Sam. But he's excelled at doing it. I come from the era where coaches used to talk about guys like Wes Unseld, and they make that pass with 2 hands, catch that ball in 90 feet with 2 hands, right? And so to see Adi do it, the baseball version of it, man, he's putting it on the money. And those guys are playing fast, right? That's one thing that Dusty has done a great job of, is putting together. They're much more athletic than they were last year on the perimeter, and they were pretty athletic last year, but with the guys that they have now, man, they're able to really push the ball in transition and put pressure on teams to really get back and build their defense out, and that's hard to do. And then once you do it, you're putting a guy like Adi Mar in the high post or the low post where he's able to use his skill and his talent, which is, I'm going to be honest, I am really surprised, right? Why I watched him play at UCLA last year, and I wasn't very impressed. So to see the strides that he's made and become the player that he's become here in Michigan, that's a testament to his hard work and his determination to prove people wrong, and also Dusty and staff's vision and ability to help develop players, right? I think when you watch guys like him, when you watch guys like Morez Johnson, when you watch Elliot Cadeau, their ability to get the best version of those guys is really propelling this team forward, right? And those are all guys, like especially those last 2, that are able to contribute to, pushing the pace and taking advantage of those baseball passes. So, the more defense we play, the more you'll see it. You got to get the ball off the glass. You got to get stops for those type of plays to be effective. So I'm really excited about this team, and it starts on defense. So I'm really excited.
I was throwing speaking of baseball, I was throwing a pitch down the middle. I wasn't bringing up some of your old takes where I was like, man, what is Daniel talking about? What is Daniel talking about when he says this is not the worst trade in history, Luka to the Lakers for that trade? I don't know, but I don't mean to bring that back up. I don't want to go there.
We can have that one day, because neither one of them look like they go win nothing. But go ahead.
I want to go there, but Michigan, you get a die off the floor, and that's one of the things that stands out about them. Morez comes in and he hits you for like 30, and his offensive game has really expanded. I was talking to Akeem, might have been Akeem Miskadeen, or maybe it was the other assistants, Mike, when we first saw them at a media day. Media day's over, and I was standing behind talking to a lot of the coaches, and Morez was out there for like 30, 40 more minutes. Daniel shooting free throws and threes. Now you're like, okay, he gonna shoot free throws. Makes sense. But threes, y'all really gonna let him shoot threes? They really letting this dude explore his game, expand his game. Kind of like, remember we was talking about Danny last year, and he was making all those turnovers early in the year, and they were letting him do it because they say we're gonna let you explore your game as they got deeper into the season. That was something that they really went to. Now they're giving Morez that kind of freedom, and you see him in some games really bust out.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's going to help in recruit. That's going to help in recruiting. When other guys, when 6'9", 6'10", all these big kids that want to be versatile and be the next Kevin Durant or the next Wemby or the next Anthony Davis, whoever they when they see that, that's going to be a recruiting tool. Like, hey, we'll let you come here and expand your game. So the second thing about that is what I love about it is more, and why I love it even more than last year with Danny. And Danny did a great job on the glass as well. But Morris does everything else that you want a big man to do first, right? That's always been my thing as a point guard or as a coach. Like, hey, man, like, I don't mind my big man shooting threes. I don't mind him handling the ball. I don't mind him exploring his game as a playmaker. But do the stuff that the big man is supposed to do first. Rebound, block shots, protect the paint, call out screens, quarterback our defense from the back end. Like, do all of those things first, and then I don't mind you exploring your game, right? So it's and Morris is doing all those things. So I have no problems with him taking the occasional three or him, exploring his game as long as it's within what the team is trying to get accomplished, right? Don't go outside your body, don't get outside yourself or outside the system, but do it within what they're trying to do, and it's probably going to work for you because everything looks like it's coming off right now with the whole team. So
yeah, man, that these dudes can they shot. You have to pull up the stats, producer Lance, but they couldn't throw it in the ocean from three. It feels like versus USC. I think they shot for like was it like 5 for 30 or 6 for 30 or something like that. Still beat them dudes by 30, right? You definitely don't play your best game at Penn State. Did you have to hang on? Sure, but that's a game that a lot of teams, a lot of Michigan teams, but a lot of teams in general lose.
Michigan State almost lost that game last week. It was the same. It was a dog. They had a dog fight there last week as well. I'm gonna tell you about that place, Sam. Name a place that you've ever been to. It's probably I ain't gonna lie, and I don't want to disrespect the Penn State people that's out there, but that's probably one of the worst basketball venues you're gonna be in. When you walk in the arena, it's a 16,000 seat arena that was probably built for their women's team when their women's team was elite back in the early 2000s, right? And this place is huge. It's bigger than Chrysler, but the whole top level is blacked out because there's no one there, right? And you're playing them like I don't think the students are back in school. So it's a place where there's not any energy. You have to create your own energy. And if you come out a little bit sleep, they can get you, right? And I think we came out a little bit flat just because of and I know from being in that, Sam, it's the environment. It's not a great basketball environment. And so for you to go in there, especially on the road, you have to create your own energy, create your own emotion, all of that in order to get out of there. And I think they for a lot of guys who've never experienced that, like some of the guys I don't know if did they play at Penn State last year?
I don't think they played at Penn State last
year.
Right.
So I think for everybody on the team, that was their first time going there, probably except for Will Cheddar, maybe. So I think that played a little bit a part of it too. And I think if you're going to get this team, it may be a little of that on the night that they may drop 1 or 2 games. And some of these guys have never been to Madison, Wisconsin. Some of these guys have never been to West Lafayette, right? So it's a little bit different ball game now that we're in the Big Ten. But I think they'll be okay.
Appreciate producer Lance throwing the stats on the screen. 6 for 30 from 3, 20% from 3, and they still win by 30 points.
Yeah, none of that stuff matters as long as you defend. If you defend the way they're defending, they could. Hey, we'll score when we score.
So,
we'll win.
Here's the irony, and so let's get into. You talked a lot about things that they need to watch, they need to improve. If you're gonna stay the best team, you're gonna stay playing at this level. How do you maintain it in a league where you're about to face some teams that can test you? You mentioned Purdue. You got an assassin in Braden Smith in there, and they got some size. I don't think they're gonna be able to try to be able to. They shouldn't even attempt to punk Michigan like they tried to punk, like they punked them last year. But we'll see. Michigan State. Michigan State is another team that you got to be leery of for the reason, and I'm about to bring up. Heading into the season, I had a couple of concerns. Would they be able to shoot threes? And with this 3 big lineup experiment, would that really work with this crew? I was already feeling that way. And then ran into John Beeline down in Chicago before we started talking football and walking down memory lane. He was like, "Hey man, you see Dusty with the big, he said, man, look, if I had Yaks, he'd be my 4-man, Sam. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if I play him at the 3, Sam. You know how I would do. So I'm like, man, I was already feeling that kind of way, John. Right? But that works. Those things are working. You know what has given them issues? And Mike said it. Akeem said it. They said, man, we need to be a better rebounding team.
Yes. I was going to say offensive. They still give up a lot of offensive rebounds.
And I
Yes.
said, that doesn't make a whole lot of. How is it a team with this much size, Daniel, not rebound? But Penn State killed them on the glass. I mean, to me, that was the story of the game. Their second chance points in that contest really was a big deal. Of course, you have foul trouble affecting that for Morez and Adai, but even especially Adai, even when they're out there at times, it's not like Michigan is overwhelming teams to the degree that they are in other aspects of their defense. So why is that, in your opinion?
That's a great question, right? I think that's the answer that they're looking for as well, right? Even though we have more size last year, I think against Penn State, the turnovers, right? The start both had the turnovers as well as offensive rebounds kind of reared their ugly head, which was two of the kind of their weaknesses last year as well. And I want to say when you play a switching man defense, it kind of puts you out of position sometimes when you rebound. It has guys guarding other positions, so you might have your 4-man trying to block out a quicker 2-man, or your point guard trying to block out a 4-man, and so sometimes you get caught up in bad matchups when the shot really goes up. So that could be an issue as well. That could be an issue, but only remedy I know as a coach and a player, we got to gang rebound, right? Everybody has to go to the glass, and we're gonna fix it. Everybody has to block out, and everybody has to go to the glass. So no matter who you're blocking out, and I'm pretty sure that's what coaches took, because they're not going to stop switching, right? They're not going to stop doing what they do and what's been so successful for them up until this point defensively, which gives the teams a lot of problems. You can switch 1 through 4, 1 through 5, right? They're not going to stop doing that. So I'm pretty sure they're going to have as the season goes along, they probably have some very physical practices, right, where they're doing blockout drills and talking about the things they need to do to get better in those areas. But those are probably the two areas that I would be most concerned about, which are fixable, right?
Yeah.
Offensive rebounds and turnovers.
So. Yeah. So we picked the 3 teams that I think are going to be the ones to watch against Michigan in the Big Ten. You mentioned Purdue for the reasons that we laid out earlier. I talked about Illinois. Now Michigan State on the rebounding side. If you're not rebounding against Michigan State,
you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
Yes, you're in trouble.
So
you're in trouble. They're going to lead the conference in offensive rebounding and probably rebounding totals pretty much as long as Tom Izzo is the coach. Defensive and offensive rebound, they're probably going to be 1 or 2 in the conference every year. So.
Yeah. But if Michigan is right, because they're elite in transition, those metrics are through the roof. I mean, if they're hitting the glass and if they're hitting shots, like Michigan not hitting shots, that's the exception, not the rule. They're a good 3-point shooting team. Elliot Cadeau, that was supposed to be a weakness. He's shooting like 42, 43% from 3 now.
Initially, I thought Elliott versus Fears was going to be a stonemasonry contest, but the way Elliott is shooting the ball this year, man, he's actually turned into an elite shooter. He's shooting over 45% from 3. That's incredible territory, no matter what your history is, right?
Yeah.
But Fears is still, throwing rocks at the rim. So but he's a tough, hard-nosed point guard. So that's going to be a matchup that I think that I can't wait to see, right? It's going to be one guy who's finding himself and another guy who's been a good player in this league for a couple of years now, right? But he can't shoot.
Right.
So it's gonna be an interesting matchup to see who the will of which point guard, especially me being a former point guard, right? I want to see whose will is gonna take control the game.
All right, Daniel, we want to do basketball first so we can get you in and get you out so you can go see your son play, man.
Yes, sir.
He has a game tonight, so wishing him luck. And so because we're going to segue now over into some football because we have a special guest with us now. So, Daniel, I don't know if you are you going to stay, you hang for a minute, you going to bounce.
I got about 5-10 minutes. I want to hear this.
All right, so let's go ahead and give us the 4-box there, producer Lance. And bring on the man who's had his share of standout signal callers. He might have bounced out for a minute. So let's do this. Let's do. Oh, there he is. There he is. He had to get his background together. I see what he did. I see what he did. He had to get his background.
I gotta hear this. I'm from Texas. I gotta hear this.
Yeah, he had his standout signal callers. He's been training quarterbacks across the country. One of his quarterbacks is on display. One of the guys he helped rear is on display tonight. Gonna be interesting to see how young Mr. Dante Moore represents the city, represents the state in his quest for revenge against the Indiana Hoosiers. But the man I'm talking about is also the longtime quarterback coach of Michigan's quarterback, Mr. Bryce Underwood, from Quarterback University, the founder of that organization, Mr. Donovan Dooley. Donovan, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, fellas. What's going on?
Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you spending some time with us tonight to lend us some of your insight into 19, his decision-making process, his growth and development. But let's just start with the elements in his decision to remain a Wolverine. I know from talking to some of you guys around him that, yeah, you're definitely going to be looking to stay at Michigan, but the fit was going to have to make sense. You're going to have to hear some things that made the fit be what you guys found it to be. What were those elements that made it a good idea to stay here in Ann Arbor?
I think so many guys like to take the elevator. Bryce is the kid that like to take the stairs, the hard way, and ultimately I think he's a kid who wants to create his own, pave his own way, and believes in just culture and remaining solid, and I think that's, for 90% of the decision, it was just about, hey, I made a decision to come to a place, and to bring a national championship home and be the first Detroit kid to ever do it at home. And, hey, make it work. You know what I mean? I think anything that's easy isn't worth having. You know what I mean? And I think ultimately just about building that relationship and having a story and a legacy about the old time. So I think we'll put the past behind us and keep moving forward.
So you have let's go into background and history. When I say quarterback coach, a lot of people might be thinking that you were quarterback coach in season. That's not what was going on. When I say long time,
that was not what was going on.
That's not what was going on. So let's clear that up right now.
Yeah.
Long time quarterback coach, as he was coming up in the ranks, as he was growing and developing during his formative years as a quarterback in high school, and then, of course, heading into college. This is an off-season exercise, and I know he calls you for advice, but your quarterback coach, not like you were doing his in-season thing, but can you take us through his growth and development over time and how you've seen him grow and your connection with him?
Yeah, so, ever since he was young, just learning on the job, right? Understanding what the position requires in terms of just whether it's being a situational creature, understanding down and distance, understanding fronts protections. And I think his greatest skill set is sometimes his biggest weakness. He believes he can knock a gnat off a mosquito's ass, and ultimately what happens with him is, taking risk, at times, you know what I mean? But you don't want to take that away from a quarterback, you don't want to check down Susie, and ultimately I think over the course of time with him growing within the offense that he was asked to do, I think he did a really good job. I think from the naked eye, everybody could see the glaring, mishaps, but not understanding what went into those, decisions, whether it was maybe it was a block up front, maybe it was a receiver running the wrong route, maybe there's so many things that, I call them, bleacher evaluators, can say, and that's what makes the game fun. It's, it's objective. But over the course of time, I think with Bryce, understanding who he was and facing adversity is a good thing for him. You know what I mean? Because as he continues to ascend, when he get in the NFL and, if he's blessed enough to take the reins, he's going to face some adversity. He's always been the king of the hill, and, I think over the next year or two, you'll see what I was talking about ever since he was little. He is what everybody think he is. You know what I mean?
So I know you were talking about when you were a freshman, there were just freshmen They were just freshman growing pains that you went through. You had the fortune of sitting. That wasn't necessarily the case for Bryce. So that's a part of it too, right?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing and the total difference from any other position is quarterback is the learning curve. You know, it's the absolute learning curve. And what I mean by that is a lot of what I do and a lot of things, other positions, it's really just coming off, are you physically capable and do you have the talent to go out and do it? Well, you could be the most talented cat as a quarterback, but mentally, and also it goes on that quarterback room as well. It all depends on how it's being taught, right? So now you're coming in certain things, you just have to really just, like Doc said, learn on the move. You're learning as it's going, right? And I'll be honest with you, it's some days it's, you're going through practice and you may not see this concept, but it's still in, and the quarterback coach doesn't take it out, and you're like, oh, here comes this concept, right? and you might make that one mistake in the game, and it might get picked, or it might get blocked, whatever the case may happen, and then you learn, like, okay, now I understand what happened. And so, like, Dooley was talking about, adversity is probably the best growth and the best thing can happen for this guy. So for me as a true freshman that was playing, I'm just reading blocks, I'm getting tackled, or I might cut too fast, right? I can go back in the film room. Mine is different because now I don't really have to read and do as much as the quarterback is doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So Dooley, this is, I want you to put us in the room, pretend that we're Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
I know we not, but just pretend. Use your imagination, right? And you're looking back at the first season. Let's set aside coaching issues because there were obviously those. If there weren't, I'll give you an example. What do I mean? So when Chip Lindsey came in, Chip Lindsey wanted to bring a quarterback coach with him. He was not able to bring a quarterback coach with him. So that wound up being, in my opinion, something that they were going to need to invest. Look, you got a thoroughbred. You can't feed him the stuff off the store shelf. You gotta feed him with the real stuff. You go get the man a quarterback coach. So they were interviewing quarterback coaches. But let's put that aside.
Yes, sir.
Can you look back over the course of the year and what were the characteristics that you looked at in his game and you said, ooh, man, he needs to improve on that. Or, ooh, that doesn't look like what I taught him. We're gonna have to get that cleaned up.
So some of the things that I would say, I'll start with the negatives is having predetermined eyes, and you work on something. So in practice, this is how it goes. You're working on something, and it's working against scout team. It's there. It's money. You're like, oh, this is gonna be there, and you get in the game. And it's what I tell all quarterbacks. They have coaches too. That look you saw on scout may not be the look you get. They've made an adjustment. And you gamble, and it's a pick or interception or deflection, and it's almost a pick. And I think he had a handful of those. I think, also just marrying up the drop with the concept, okay, getting to the drop too early. And the third thing, I think most glaring thing would be is just continue to move the chains. As a freshman, your job is, somebody, the price is like, he's got to win the game. No, man, just don't lose it. You know what I mean? Hey, listen, just manage the game. I don't need you to lose the damn thing. Just, I'm not saying he did that, but ultimately, I remember play, and I know he wants it back. It's Northwestern. It's 3rd and 1. Hey, and they got an RPO on him. Hey, man, sometimes lock that thing. Just hand it off. Man, you got your stays right here. Just get it to him. He'll figure it out. He'll sort that thing out, And you're in field goal range, so sometimes you got to know your coach, right? He may say, hey, we're going anyway, but he threw the glance, right? Because the pit bull in him. He like, oh, I'm doing it. I'm trying to go 6, And so those were some of the glaring things. I think just his feet. I think his slot dropped a little bit, but those are things that are easy fixes, and I think just ultimately just understanding, it's cliche, take what the defense gives you, but also just be aware that hey, pocket's going to be muddy. Play the game with your eyes, with great eyes. Throw the football away from leverage, and be you, though. Be you, and I think, in my opinion, Coach Biff did a good job of, at the end of the season, speaking that, breathing life into him. Hey, man, just be you. Go play. You know what I mean? Sometimes as a dog, you got to say, go play.
Yeah.
Go play.
So I was pretty opinionated on this, on the Bryce subject.
Go ahead.
When early in the season, after the Oklahoma game, I said, listen, man, I'm not a coach. If people could go back and check the tape, I don't pretend to know more football than Sharon Moore, but you got to run this. You got to let him run. That is part of his game. You can't, chain him up and say you can only play in this space when the dude is capable of going all over. Like, he can carry you places with his legs, because Sharon have been saying things like, well, if you run your quarterback, you better have two, and that kind of thing's like, man, if you play scared like that, or you coach scared like that, I think it's going to corral this offense. So then they started running him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an element of the game. The next part that I wanted to see was like, man, I remember the Michigan State game. They brought that nickel blitz, and they hit him early in the game, and I was like, oh, it was a clean shot. I said, oh man, I wish they had a dude on the sideline that could just go and be there. Just like, hey man, these dudes gonna pick it up, because Dooley, man, it felt like at times we know that the protection wasn't always right.
Mm-hmm.
Once you see some quarterbacks get hit early in the game, they start looking around like, this protection, is it really going to be there? And especially with a young quarterback. And so I'm curious your perspective, your thoughts on that, how he grew in that area, and what you think it would look
like. I know
like.
exactly the play you're talking about, right? And not taking up for him, but protection was wrong. I'm not gonna lie, And but Bryce is a tough kid. He's never gonna tuck his tail. I'm telling you, he ain't coming out. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, he can be whatever it is. Even with the Texas game, he was injured. He was hurt. But guess what? He ain't tuck his tail. And I think as a quarterback, you do start as a freshman quarterback. Mostly freshmen do start seeing ghosts. They do start getting happy feet, and that's normal. And I think I'm glad we talk about this right now, is that in today's society, the game of quarterback today is so unforgiving. Like, not understanding that development is a real thing, and kids develop over the course of time. Everybody wants results right now.
Mm-hmm.
Man, do y'all realize this boy was 17? He was supposed to be in high school. He coming in at 17. How many freshmen starting? And the Big Ten at 17.
Preach to the choir.
And yeah, so ultimately, I think you played a long game with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you talk about running the football, this is why I agree to disagree with you, Tim. Respectfully. You don't want to put a dent in the Bentley. And sometimes you got to have, when you run them, you got to be very, very specific when you do. It can't just be what you do, because there is some, when you look at your roster as a head coach or whatever, you got to look behind and say, if he goes down, does the offense totally change? It's almost the equivalent to if a Lamar Jackson goes down. And Lamar Jackson, you can't duplicate that. It's like, hey, I ain't got another Lamar, so the offense is gonna change totally. And now defense, I hope we can score some points.
Yeah, so this is a great segue into this new coaching staff, because you're right. I wasn't sitting there saying, hey, run this dude like Lamar. Don was saying, run him like you do, or even like Utah was running their quarterback.
Oh, you can do that.
No, I said, look, you got to present the threat legitimately. And there's a QB run game that you can utilize that maybe lends itself to him, not taking as many shots. I'm not running necessarily QB power, but that double bluff they start running where he's getting on the edge a lot. Man, I could get out of bounds. I could avoid hits. I'm not necessarily running it up in there all the time. Hey, man, present him as a threat, especially when your offensive line, your running game hadn't really developed to the point where I think it's going to be next year. And maybe
I agree with you. I agree with that.
So now here's the thing, though. talking about Utah, you bring in Kyle Whittingham, and this is what I remember talking, and it's like, hey, he's a great coach. We got to hear what kind of what the fit is going to look like for Bryce. This explains to us what the fit is going to look like for Bryce. So, hey, man, and that makes sense, from a development standpoint and a usage standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, and you were down in Orlando, Dooley, and you can share with us. Clearly, he made a great impression. Bryce decided to stay. Give us an idea of how he came across, Coach Whittingham, and then give us an idea of what the usage plan is going to look like with Bryce behind the helm compared to maybe what Michigan did last year or even what Utah did last year.
Well, when you say come across is to him, what do you mean by that? What do you mean?
I mean, what were your impressions? What did you think upon first meeting?
When I met Coach Whittingham down there, straightforward, I thought he was real old school, which I can appreciate. I think anytime a man has been somewhere for 20 years or 19 years, however long, as like the Iowa coach, I think that shows some stability and some understanding culture. I think that's a good thing. But also I think he asked some great questions about, the young man, right? But when you look at his body of work at Utah, regardless of conference, he's been kind of consistent. And he's beat some teams and been in some games that normally Utah wouldn't be in, And whenever I've watched them, one thing I've always said watching Utah for the past 3 to 4 years, tough.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch them, they're tough. They're going to play, and sound, right? I think when you got a kid like Bryce, which I call him, man, he is a McLaren,
Mm-hmm.
So when you got that, you got to know how to drive that. But also, you got to pull out the whip on him and let him know, coach him up, be hard on him, and get the best version of him. And I think Coach Whittingham can do that, and with the offense that they have, I've watched the quarterback play and how they operate, but I think it's a fit. And I think, honestly, Michigan got lucky, honestly.
So what does that look like? I remember talking to you about it. You said, hey, he's going to be a triple threat in this offense. So how will the usage, aside from his just natural maturation, like, even if the staff has stayed the same, Bryce was going to be better. That's what he's a freshman. Like, the dude is his elite characteristics are going to shine through now that he has some experience.
Yes,
but
sir.
It helps when you have elite scheme, elite coaching to match that. Helps a ton. So how is that going to marry with Bryce on the field? What is it going to look like in terms of his usage?
I think you'll see what everybody's been asking for is you'll see him use his legs. You'll see definitely some QB design runs. And also you'll see a passing game that's quarterback friendly, with some easy shots, some gimmies, right? Some gifts and some drive starters, right? And also still a run game, though. I think in order to win, you got to be able to run the football. In order to win, playoff football and national, you got to run the football. You ain't coming out there just slinging it 40, 50 times and think you're going to win. You got to be able to run the football because defense is going to get better as time goes on, and they can play some exotics in coverage. But I think you'll see what everybody has been wanting to see. And, again, I think Michigan got lucky with a hire, I think it was a solid hire based on just culture and what the institution has been yearning for. But, this is the show and tell, right? I think you're going to get some good stuff out of it.
You said that you think that the windows are going to be clear. The picture is going to be clear for him.
Absolutely.
Because of the
play design. Play design. I think so many coordinators, across the country, you draw stuff on a grease board and just think it's going to be, great, right? I think what you got to understand is you got to understand the quarterback. What does he do well? What does he throw well, right? Have a true, genuine relationship with your quarterback, but also the play design has to, marry and understand that, hey, if wasn't there 2, check down 1 or 2 to check down 1, 2, 3 check down, whatever it is, right? And I think you should see some guys get win within the routes as well. You know what I mean? There's some things I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but man, you know, hey, listen, I'm a Michigan guy through and through, you know, from the heart. You know, I'm from here. So, man, you know, we got it. Come on now, coach. You know, come on, Utah staff. Come on, baby.
And let me just speak up for my man Dooley here for a minute, because it seemed like some Michigan fans was like, "And what were you telling him during?" Dooley was not coaching Bryce during the season.
Not, man, they had me get some ropes like this, man. I'm like, hold on now, you know.
Hey Dooley, tell him you're not in the my man sits with what's old boy we got here out in Denver Broncos, the quarterback.
Who was that there?
Sierra's husband.
Bo Nix? You talking about Bo Nix, the quarterback?
No, Sierra's husband.
Oh, Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, yeah. So you're not Russell, man. Russell had his own quarterback coach. So you're not doing that.
Man. Yeah, I wish I would have, you know, could have put my hands on a consistent. I think, you know, some of you, you know, it's speculation, you know, but I believe in confirmation. So here you go, right? You know, I was not, right, allowed, right, to coach Bryce during the season. They said they got it, you know, and when you say you got it, I expect you to get it, right? And hey, you know, so for the record, I was, were there some things that, you know, wish you could change? Absolutely. But Donovan Dooley was not allowed to be there.
Right.
They said they had it.
Right. I hear you. And so,
right, there we go.
Listen, for everything that happened, he has experience under his belt. We can close with this. I know you're working. So I felt like I said earlier, we have watched him grow. We have seen him face adversity. Now, this is a different level, but what I kept seeing, even after that Northwestern game that you brought up, like at the end of the game, he was still there. He got back right, drove the team down the field, and then came out the next week against Maryland, and it was like boom, 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 boom. So his mental sort of toughness.
Yes.
That has long been a trait that I don't know people have talked about enough, and I'm curious where he is mentally now heading into the next.
He is ready to rock and roll. His confidence not wavered. You know, he understands what the job requires, and this is part of the job, right? And take every, you know, it's all on, you know, we as a quarterback, you got to take it all. It's on me. I didn't get it done. Ain't no point the finger. Let's point the thumb. Like, I take anything every interception or anything, I take it. Coach Dooley did, right? You know, and I say that because so many coaches want to celebrate the W's, celebrate the L's too. You know what I mean? Hey, celebrate those too. And I just think that Bryce is ready to put on display. Got a season under his belt, a full season under his belt, and pocket reps is a real thing for quarterbacks. I'm telling you. Once you get those reps, learning on the job, man, it's like being in school for a year. Oh, okay, I know what this is. Okay, all right. Now, all the jitters is gone. Now I'm a veteran now. I'm not the rook no more. Right? I get it. And then also just understanding again the soft skills outside of the lines, how to live quarterback, not play quarterback. Living quarterback is something different than playing quarterback, and that's what he's going to have to do.
Well, you could really tell his teaching, like so much of the focus, and we'll let you go. So much of the focus is on mechanics. You mentioned his arm slot kind of dropped a little bit. You're going to work on that and all these different things. So much of coaching is focused on the technical. But
Yes,
the
sir.
mental part, to me, kept shining through because through all the adversity, I never saw Bryce be like, yeah, man, they dropped those passes, or yeah, that protection broke down, or yeah, man, you know, this dude ran the wrong route.
He's never gonna say that. He's never. So the thing, that's what I love about the kid so much. Like, there's so much he could have said that he didn't say. He just took it all. Just, hey, he taking the body blows. Hey, listen, it's me. Hey, it's me. You know, and that's the sign of a good quarterback. Because at the elite level, Coach played at it. You know, Coach Wheatley played at it. At the elite level, you can't get up there and say, you know, coach didn't do this, the receiver didn't, you know, he was tugging the sideline. Yeah. You talking about going in the locker room, got to look at 90 dudes. Like, man, what's up? You know? So guess what? You get all the spotlight, you got all the highlights and the lowlights. That's what you signed up for, baby. So I'm excited. I appreciate you guys. I'm excited. Again, we'll continue to get better, and I look forward to putting a better product on the field next time.
Tell people about before you go. Tell people about Quarterback University.
Quarterback University is not a training department; it's a developing sector for only quarterbacks around the country, starting at 8 years old all the way up, and been doing it for 16 years. So Quarterback University at gmail.com. Holla at us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, yeah, we kind of had a little technical difficulty there, but Dooley, I know you got to get back to work, man. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Thanks for the insight, my man, and we'll be in contact soon.
All right, man. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Donovan Dooley, quarterback coach, longtime quarterback coach for Bryce Underwood. We that was a journey for the young fella last year.
I just want to say something. So you talked about freshman year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Donovan said something that's very, very important. What makes you great also kills you. And so a lot of people call it the sophomore slump. And here's what happens in that sophomore slump. And here's the reason why that sophomore slump occurs. Because you went through the fire as a freshman and you feel like you've learned and you've grown so much that, man, I got it all now. And I'm going to go out here and I'm going to, right all my wrongs, prove everybody wrong. I'm on a comeback tour. And then all of a sudden, and here's where, I understand what Cam Newton is talking about between, is he a game changer or is he a game manager? I will always go with a game manager. Because the game changer is going to go against some things, the conventional wisdom, and you must let this game come to you. And when it's time to attack the game, you got to know how to attack the game. It's like fishing, right? You got to drop that, you got to bait that hook so deep to now when you got it, that fish don't jump off the hook, the line. And once you do that, you get it and you can manage the game. You can let them come to you. Then you can start advancing outward and then moving forward. And so what I'm hoping and I'm praying what Bryce does is he comes in and he understands the mistakes and things that he made, like the protection. I am going to now go in and understand. I have to protect myself. So I got to understand the protection so I don't get hit. And if I do come in, I have a hot route or whatever my route adjustment is off that edge. So learning those things, becoming secure mentally and taking that game over from that portion instead of going in and saying, I'm coming in with the bravado. I'm a year older. I'm a year stronger. I'm a year smarter, and I'm going to take this thing over. No, that's where those slumps come into play. And I'm just hoping that everybody in their mind is not saying, oh, well, he's a year older. He should come out. He should be that much more better. Not much more better. I apologize, people. I went to Michigan. He should be better, right? He should be better than what he was last year. Yes and no. He's still going to have to grow. And there's still going to be some things that he's going to have to grow through and get to. And I would just say this, the mastery of your game really truly sets in your junior year. Your junior year is when it really just kind of set in and say, you know what? I can go out here and I don't have to press. I don't have to rush. This is what they're giving me. Hey, coach, this is what they're going. Keep going, keep going. Fourth quarter, third quarter, it's going to open up. I can get this, but let's go this route. And then I guarantee you the log jam will open up. It will open up in the third and fourth quarter. And by the time your senior year, you're a wizard, man. You're a wizard, But that's why they call it the sophomore slump. That's the reason why they call it the sophomore slump.
Well, one of my biggest takeaways is he said, listen, he wants to be coached. We want him to be coached. And we don't necessarily want it to always be a pat on the back. We want you to, get on him when he needs to be, when you need to kind of give him a message, give him the message, coach him. But, I think that revelation, at least it was a revelation to the Sharon staff. Okay, we got to get a quarterback coach in here. So they were interviewing a quarterback coach the day he got fired. They interviewed Mike Shula, who had been the OC at South Carolina.
Well, my issue is this, right? My issue is this. The quarterback is the guy. Like the team goes as your quarterback go. The team goes as your quarterback goes. So why shouldn't you have a quarterback coach? That's the guy that needs constant supervision, revision, adjustment. He needs that day in and day out. He needs a coach I mean, it's not some GA that you just sit in the room and say, okay, here's your no.
Yeah.
You don't have a GA for a quarterback coach. This guy needs to have someone that he can look at and say, okay, are these things that I'm seeing? Okay, or better yet, hey man, we need to put the blinders on.
Mm-hmm.
And Dooley said, you don't want to check down King. Sometimes, and I'm speaking out of running back, sometimes, brother, throw the ball for 3 yards and let me take it 20.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so, therefore, you need someone to be there with this guy, guiding him, not just on the field, but off the field is sometimes the most important portion of being a football coach there is. Do you know what I mean? Like those are those times, man. So, yes, I hope they have him a quarterback coach.
Oh yeah, hey man, look, whoever was the coach, he was going to get a quarterback coach. Clearly, I think from his support system's perspective, like, look, yeah, experience is a great teacher, but we actually need a teacher, like an actual teacher here with him every step of the way too. Like I'm obviously an observer, but I could see, and I bring up that Michigan State game for a reason, because man, I hear Van say all the time, he say, Sam, I'm trying to hit the quarterback before the whistle blow. I'm trying to hit him. Like first snap, we trying to get in his face. We trying to affect the quarterback right now. Getting off the bus, we trying to affect the quarterback. And Michigan State got that clean. It wasn't a sack, but they got a clean shot on him. I was like, oh man, let him get hit like that out the gate. That's where it would have been great to have like a quarterback coach there. Was like, hey, and Dooley gave some insight. He said it was a misprotection. It's like, it would have been great. Hey man, Bryce, we gonna get that fixed, man. It's gonna be all just.
But here's the next thing though, right? And I'm gonna talk about Manning here in a second, but it's not just on Bryce either. Like you say, it was a misprotection. But me as a running back, I take that personal. There's no way in the world you're going to touch my quarterback. And offensive line should do it that way as well. But at the same time, especially if it's a nickel guy, if he's covered, that's the biggest woo-hoo in the world, right? Hey, man, I'm checking and pointing. So now I'm telling my tackle, if my tackle doesn't slide out there, then that's my guy as the running back. So that should be on everybody, right, in terms of that point. But let's go back to the reason why I said I brought up Manning. When Manning was having when Arch was having all his issues in Texas, I was like, yo, he's going to be okay. You know why I said he was going to be okay? Because I was with Steve Sarkisian in Oakland when he was my quarterback coach, when he was just a young seedling in the game being tutored and taught by John Gruden. And so I know that he was going to be okay. I knew he was going to be coached through because of the type of quarterback coach and guy, even though he's the head coach of Texas, but just understanding, oh man, Manning was going to be all right because I understood who Steve was and what Steve was going to input and teach this young man. And as you saw the growth and maturation of that young man from the first 3 games, because I think in the first 2 games, everybody wanted Manning out of there, right? They were clowning the kid. They were clowning the young man. Now all of a sudden, towards the end of the year, totally different guy, right?
Yeah.
Totally different guy.
Yeah.
Totally different guy.
Yeah. I think to hammer home in the season point, because I want to get to a couple questions real quick before we get out of here. The maturation point, taking all that. I remember, was it the Nebraska game? Might have been the Nebraska game where there was a read option and he pulled it. And Justice Hayes wanted him to like, man, give me the ball, because I don't know that Justice Hayes would have gotten a ton of yards, but Bryce wound up getting hit for I think a 2-yard gain. So he was incensed. Justice Hayes was incensed coming off the field, like, man, basically give me the ball. And Bryce, he was trying to talk to the dude, but he wasn't going at him. You look at all the situations during the year, whether it was a drop pass, and that's not to say he didn't make mistakes. He made his own mistakes too. So it wasn't all everybody else. But my point is, whenever you saw drop balls or missed protections or anything like that, you never saw examples of him kind of just getting on team like that particular instance. And that told me a lot about his his leadership. Like, man, he's more advanced as a leader than a lot of people maybe gave him credit for, and that maybe is easier to see than the progress in terms of executing the offense, where there are a lot more factors that play into that. The defense is changing all the time. You know, how people are playing around you. There's a whole lot that goes into that. And so I was excited to see him be or show the team and show the fans that example of who he is. Now it's just a matter of bringing the other pieces along, which they clearly, one of the things that Dooley said is, we're going to make him a triple threat. He's going to be involved in the kills and checks. He's going to run the football some, but we're going to spread him out. And that is going to really open up passing windows for him and clear the picture of where to go with the football. But you can also spread to run too. So that can help the running game as well. It's not like, Utah spreads teams out and they run and shoot. No, they spread teams out and they're pounding you, kind of like to hate to use this as a reference, but Urban Meyer used to do. He was a power spread.
Yes.
That's how I would describe Kyle Whittingham.
But once again, you said it, and just to make football in layman's terms, right? Numbers. It's a numbers game. You spread them out. Is it 6 in the box? Is it 5 in the box? Is it 6 in the box or is it a 7 in the box? So there's only so many zones they can cover. And me as a young guy, and even the whole team can see now all of a sudden, going back to that blitz package, right? That blitz we talked about earlier. We spread it out. Now I can see if that blitz is coming a mile free, because if there's only one guy over that receiver, nobody's coming. If it's 2 guys over that receiver, somebody's coming, right? So we can run it, we can block it, however you do it. But yes, it makes it easier for those guys to see.
Yeah, and then getting him some more weapons. Texas so cold with the weapons. So Michigan is in it thick with Jamie French, a freshman, was a 5-star receiver out of Jacksonville Mandarin High School. He was committed to Bama. Nick Saban retires. He rescinds that commitment. He flips to Texas, where, they got this dude played 22 snaps. Like, he was the number 9 receiver in the country. I think he was number 52 overall. He played 22 snaps, had 1 catch for 6 yards. So he hit the portal for obvious reasons. Wants to get more opportunity, more run, a better situation for him. Michigan could be that situation, but you could be, grabbing another guy to put on the other side of Marsh, who emerged as the season went on. And that's another piece. Do you have another guy that you can throw it to and he's going to make it right, where the quarterback don't always have to be the right one all the time? Quarterback needs some of that too. He needs some grace too, where he can just throw it
Absolutely.
up. And
that's why,
like Marsh did.
And so that's why one of the biggest things when these coaches are in the NFL and they start recruiting and looking and evaluating these guys, the biggest thing they talk about is the catching radius, right? Like you say, that ball doesn't always have to be right on the money, but what is this guy's catching radius? And then once he catches it, right, what can he produce after the catch? Is he a smooth transition guy? Is he everybody talk about the 50-50 ball. If that ball goes up, I don't like calling 50-50. It's 100. It's 100% of the time his. So yes, you do need guys that can make the quarterback right.
Mm-hmm. So somebody said, Van Dam said, is Marsh going to sign? I know you said he agreed to terms, but I need some assurance. Listen, all I can tell you is when the contract was agreed upon, I got a call. And then I have a way of being able to find out things on the other side. So 2 sides say that an agreement has been reached. Now, what do I think is the delay? I haven't asked that question, but you know what? I will ask it for you people. What I suspect is the case is, hey, let's look at this contract. Let's make sure all the terms of this contract are what we want them to be, are totally in order. Let's have the lawyer look this over. That's what I suspect is the case. I don't know that's the case, but listen, if I know better than to ever make guarantees about what somebody else is going to do. All right. So, but 99%, damn it, I mean, both sides have agreed it would be a change. It would be a total change for him not to sign at this point. They could be waiting to, unleash it with some other guys, for all I know. The other thing that I know is Andrew Marsh is helping to recruit Jamie French. Andrew Marsh's mom, Eleanor, is on that job too, helping to recruit. So if they were to do something else at this point, it would be a change of plan altogether. The sides have agreed, and now we have to, just wait for it to be, like you said, official with the signing and that kind of thing. But they have done a great job with the retention. It was a lot of work to do with Marsh. I talked about some other guys as well. Your Jordan Young's out there, your Shamari Earls is out there that I think they've done some really good work with too. If you haven't read that story, go to MichiganInsider.com and check it out. But what it reveals though is when you see these guys who have signed, based on the circumstances that Michigan was facing or is facing, where you got a complete staff, or you had a lot of turmoil, complete staff turnover, new scheme. So I don't know anybody. I don't really know the scheme. Like, you're going to have to really pay guys maybe even more than you had planned to as far as a raise is concerned. And you can't pay everybody like that. That's just the nature of this beast that we call NIL. So when I see this question right here, why not pay Haynes $3 million if you pay a QB who threw 10 TDs last year, 3.5? Now, I don't know exactly what the numbers are for Bryce. That's speculation on your part. But we know that Haynes is and was commanding a higher number than he got last year. We know the same thing for Jordan Marshall. We know they got the number one running back in the country, who, by the way, Virginia Tech was coming back in on and saying, well, we'll give you even more than we said we were going to give you during the initial recruitment. Because now we got James Boone's Farm Franklin over here that's ready to give you some more bread. So you got all of this money that you're tossing out to retain the rest of your roster, maybe in excess of what you were initially going to do, and you already got this much money invested at the running back position. I love running backs, Wheat's my all-time favorite. I told present company, I'm saying this with complete respect and adulation. You can't pay running backs that much. You can't pay all that money to that one position. I mean, what you going to do everywhere else? This is not a bottomless pit of money, Wheat. You can't say I'm going to spend, $5 million on running backs in this day and age of college football.
Well, the running back position has been devalued, not only by this, NIL, but in the NFL. I digress. But you're absolutely right. But I spoke about this on a couple of episodes ago, though, right? You have to start by retaining your current roster. I don't know what the money is. I don't know what their salary. I'm just call it salary cap for all intents purposes, right? I don't know what their salary cap is. Okay, I really don't know what monies they're working with. But however, you want to pay a guy 3.5. Okay, it does the production warrant and matches that. Right? Does the production warrant and matches that? But at the same time, you have to give the new staff a chance to come in and also truly evaluate what is truly missing, because they have to put their spin in what they're looking for and what they're really is going to want to do with this offense and defense. Okay. And so with that being said, 3.5 may not be the number they want to give them, because it may not match and suit what it is they're trying to do. And hey, I always say this, the running back room, it's like a kicker. You know what? You hate him when you don't have one, but you love him when you got him.
Well, here's the thing. Just throwing it out. These are fake numbers. Let me repeat what I'm saying. These are fake numbers, all right? But let's say I'm paying Jordan Marshall $1 million or close to it. Let's say I'm paying Savion Hyder $1 million or close to it. I mean, can you really pay Justice Haynes $2+ million? Now, again, I'm not saying these are real numbers, but understand what I laid out. For Michigan to protect its roster, which was my only nervousness with Kyle Whittingham, was, okay, if you're going to change this much staff, because you're already changing the scheme, and guys didn't have contracts to lock them in before the new coach was hired, even though some were actually like, hey, I'll sign a new contract right now, but no, that's not what they wanted to do. The way that you were going to give Kyle Whittingham the best chance of protecting his roster was to, hey, we're going to have to pay these guys maybe even more than we initially planned. Donors got back on board after some of them pulled out with the whole Sharon thing during the season, even before it became official that he really was, getting down with the assistant. When it was just a rumor, you had donors pulling out. So that's taking money away. That money came back, and they're showing their support. But in order to pay everybody to the level that fans wanted to pay, the donors would have to give even more money. That's unrealistic. So you got to make some choices as admin, as the personnel guys. We got to prioritize who we got to sign, and we're going to lose a few guys. I think Michigan has done a great job of that.
Okay, and yes, and just like so, once again, this has got to be the NFL model, right? And this is the way it is. And yes, just well explained. You're not going to be able to pay everybody, right? You can't. There's no way you can. So you get the guys who you want that's going to fit your scheme. That's what's going to do. Your top production guys, the guys that are great in the locker room, and the guys that are great for the team. Those are the ones you got to keep around. But guess what? Just like there's the guys who don't want it and that want more money, they've always said there are guys out there that can produce that I don't have to pay as much. And we can bring those guys in. And then once they pay, you know what? As they produce, so does the salary. And if we can't pay that, then guess what? Somebody else on the team has to leave. But here's where in the world of the NIL, where these young men need to understand and come to grips to. If you want a great team, you got to do a Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You got to do a Tom Brady.
That's a tough one, Wheat. That's a tough one. Oh, Super Chat. Super Chat's in the building. Appreciate your Super Chats, Blue Wolverine. Appreciate the love.
But I'm just saying, but here's the deal, though. In this world of NIL, like you said, we don't have a well where we can just dump a bucket in and pull up money. I don't have a tree out back that I can water and say, okay, I'm going to go pull a couple of $100 million off the tree. Me as a quarterback, I need a right tackle. Okay. I'll give you a meal or $500K off of mine to go get him. Because, see, these young men want to play big boy ball and play, money. This is the world you're in now. And for my university, not saying my university, I'm talking about the guys that are playing. And for my university to be successful, I can't sit there and say, yeah, I got my bread, but everybody else over in the corner hungry.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen players at the next level restructure their contracts to put the money back in the pool?
See, so it's a great point. And it's a point that I think is present when a team and the connection within the team is really established, because that's been happening. Like some of the dudes that even looking at last year's team, if they had gotten in the portal and and put themselves on the open market, or even after the championship season, if they had said, hey, we're going to go out and shop, a lot of these dudes could have got more money, and some have taken less, maybe not a ton less, but they've taken less to stay because they wanted to continue to be a part. The difference here is, when it's a whole new staff, those connections they aren't always as tight. You aren't connected to your coach. Maybe one of your teammates is talking about leaving. It's a little tougher to get guys to take those kind of discounts you're talking about, Wheat.
I'm going to put it to you this way. I don't play for a coach. I play for the guys in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Coach ain't going to take no hit from me. Coach can't throw a block for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I play for the guys in the room. We play for one another. So, and people always talk about the system, this, that, and the third. If you can run, block, tackle, catch, it's football. System doesn't make a sense or a deal about it. And I'm just going to say this for a second. We need to stop with all the pettiness and babying these guys. Play football, man.
Mm-hmm.
Football is, I don't care about the system. System has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
If you can run, block, tackle, and catch, you can play football. I don't care who comes in, because guess what? You sign a 5-year deal with the Detroit Lions and they fire the whole staff. You gonna tell them you want to leave because your coaching staff is gone? No. Doesn't work that way. So let's keep the main thing the main thing. Yes, and listen here. I'm going to say this. I am for these young men trying to get their money, right? But let's have some perspective. Let's broaden this thing out, and let's keep the main thing the main thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. To your point, do we see? You say don't baby them. Do we see contracts that offer some binding to them, where guys maintain a commitment, and then, like in the NFL, everybody knows what everybody's making, right?
It's out there.
You know, it's out there, and so if hey, I need to take less, so and so can get theirs too. But in fairness to the guys, they don't know if what, and I'm not just talking about Michigan, but they don't know if GM whoever is being straight with them about, hey man, I need you to take this so I can go get this money over to these guys over here. You don't even know what those guys over there are making. So will we get to the point where that kind of information is open, where it's a more grown up situation?
It should be.
Your point,
hey, Sam,
those kind of decisions.
I said that a couple of things ago, right? Because if you're a public institution, any contract should be public. Correct? Any contract should be public. So at the end of the day, they should have a whether it be through Power 5, Power 4, Group of 5, whatever the case may be, there should be an entire deal of saying, here's what your roster is making, and here's what they're doing per position. Here's what this is. Here's what the average is. It should be out there. It should be out there, because at the end of the day, my $2 million may not be really $2 million because of the way it's structured. Mm-hmm. It could be $2 million on paper, like we used to say in the NFL. Yeah, I got $5 million, but it's all backloaded in years 4 and 5. And then once year 3 come, I'm not going to see the rest of that money. Mm-hmm. So it all depends on how it's structured. But I do believe, and like you said, it should be listed. It should be printed out, and it should be public knowledge. Well, I ain't going to say really public knowledge, but for the players, it should be something that the players can look at. And so there's no BS going on. Like you say, I'm paying this and you're getting way over market value when the young men get there. It's not. I think it should be, open up to the young men.
All right, let's round this out, get these super chats out of the way. D Shuts, appreciate the super chat. Says, love you, Sam. Appreciate you so much. Love Vance, too. What is the real reason people are leaving Michigan in droves, losing Justice Haynes? D Shuts. People aren't leaving Michigan in droves. All right? And let me be clear one more time. You cannot pay everyone a raise. It's the numbers don't work out. This is not a bottomless pit of money. I keep trying to explain to people. Donors are donating. Like this is money that they say, hey, I'm going to help you out. Just because they say, oh, I don't want to help you out more than I'm already helping you out, that don't make them bad donors. That just means you got to be judicious with your spend. I got a budget. And so Michigan is in a situation where, hey, you got circumstances, you got players that we're going to look around. It's not the same ball game as it was after the championship or even last year, where guys maybe would take a little bit less than they would have maybe commanded if they went on open. No, they're going to explore. Their agent gonna have their agents look around more. And so in order to help your new coach hit the ground running, man, be willing to spend that money. And that's what they've been doing. But what happens is you're going to have to make some sacrifices. That money has to come from somewhere. You either take it from what you spend in recruiting, you take it what you spend on another position, or you take it from another guy. And so you got Bryce Underwood, you got Andrew Marsh, you got Jordan Marshall, you got Blake Frazier, Andrew Sprague, Jake Granera. Like all of these guys, I told you, if you go look at, I don't want to give away all my stories, but I have things trending up with several other top guys. You can go see exactly what I had to say about Trey Pierce, exactly what I had to say about Shamari Earls, which there was a lot of work to do there. Exactly what I had to say about Jordan Young, guys who go in the portal. They're still working on those guys. But if you pay all of those guys, there are some guys you might not, but you can't pay Justice Haynes as much. I'm just using him as an example. Or maybe you can't pay a Brandon Hillman or a TJ Metcalf as much. I'm not saying that that's what happened. I'm just giving you what could have been a major contributing factor to it. And then you still want to go get guys in the portal. You want to go get a John Henry Daly, right? You want to go get a Jamie French. You got to have money for that. So Michigan has done, and this is coming from a guy who is very nervous. You guys know I was very nervous about not the coaching ability. I mean, they got a great coach. And I think he has a great staff. My contention of why I would have done this different than Ward Manuel was because I think the roster was very close to championship or playoff level. And I thought the best chance of keeping that was to keep another couple of assistants. And so I would have said, hey, to give myself the best chance of doing that, keep another couple of these assistants so we can have the best chance of protecting this roster. That's not the approach Ward Manuel took, which I know most fans agree with. And that's not the approach that Kyle Whittingham took. And to their credit, and to the credit of the personnel department and Sean McGee and all of those guys, they figured out a way to protect most of their top guys. That's as much as you could have reasonably asked for. You're asking for miracles if you're asking for more than that.
No, you hit the nail right on the head. Because the biggest thing is the power is in your backup. The power is in your development. Because like you're saying, losing Justice Haynes, well, wait a minute. Didn't he go down? He went down, and those backs behind him produced. So do you feel well enough and good enough to say we could sacrifice that and then give these guys the money that's required and go?
Mm-hmm. Another couple super chats real quick. This one is personal to Wheat. Says Wheat. Thanks for the super chat, Charlie Willis. Yo, Wheatley, what team you played for back in the day that was never scored on in the season? You played on a team like that, Wheat? Man, Wheat's so great he can't remember his accolades.
Oh man, that wasn't scored on? Man, that had to be a high school team. Hell, I think we got scored on the high school. You're gonna have to help me out there, Charles.
All right. Another super chat, Mizzlemar 0726. Is there a way you can contact me? You can contact me by direct messaging me over on the MichiganInsider.com. So DM me over there, and I will get back to you in that way. So, man, this is great. But I've already kept Wheat over time. So listen, folks, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Steady Droppin Dimes. I hope you enjoyed insight from Dooley, perspective on Michigan basketball, which they just keep getting it done. Best team in the country. Best team in the country. And to me, it'll be about do they find themselves not being able to improve some elements of their game that we've seen show a little vulnerability, some rebounding on both ends of the floor. Some of their defensive matchup issues that they have at times against certain teams when a Daimara is on the floor, because right now he's elite, but when you face a five-man that can really attack you in multiple ways, or a guard that can really attack that drop coverage with him on the floor, how are they going to deal with those things? Man, they answer those questions. I don't know anyone who's going to beat them. So Wheat, my brother, Happy New Year. Been doing a fantastic job. Glad to have you break this
Appreciate
down.
you.
And when we come back next week, I want to have you dig deep into how you and your brethren, the ones who wore the uniform, how you feeling at this time of change in the Michigan football program. So we'll get into that next week. Until then,
Appreciate it.
folks, we appreciate your time. Thanks for watching another edition of Steady Droppin Dimes.